This is BBC Radio 4, where now it's time for Sunday with William Crawley.
Thank you very much. A very good morning to you. On this week's Sunday, is the increasingly sectarian conflict in Syria setting British Muslims on a collision course with each other? We'll ask scholars from the Sunni and Shia communities. The conflict in Syria has taken an increasingly sectarian turn, with some now describing it as a religious civil war between Sunni, Shia and Alawite sects within Islam. And there are now concerns that relationships between Britain's Sunnis and Shias, which have been historically very peaceful, are becoming more embattled. If that's true, what can Muslim leaders here do to calm tensions? Sheikh Mohammed Al Hilli is a Shia scholar. Mohammed Ansar is a Sunni religious and political commentator. Good morning to you both. Sheikh Hilli, can we begin with the situation in Britain first of all? Is there any evidence that tensions in Syria, or Pakistan for that matter, are dividing British Muslims?
Yes, good morning to you and all the listeners. Sure, at this current time, certainly we fear that the tension from the Middle East and somehow the sectarian tendencies are having an impact on the way people understand the relationships between Sunnis and Shia, especially in this country. Unfortunately, we have noticed a demonstration that took place about a month ago in central London by a group of people headed by Anjem Chowdhury, about 50 or 60, and primarily their target was the Shias. It was the first time we see this in this country, and it raised alarm bells amongst Muslim leaders. We attempted to hold joint condemnation between Sunni and Shia imams and scholars to say that we won't let extremism ruin the peace and harmony between the Muslims in this country. However, the problem seems to be the impact of what people are witnessing and the widespread ignorance that exists and the emotions that sometimes overtake them in judging, for instance, that Shias are responsible or Shias are with the Syrian government.
Well, let me put that point to Mohammed Ansar first of all. Do you agree with that, Mohammed, that sectarian tensions in Syria are driving a wedge into the British Muslim community?
Good morning, William. I think to a degree, what we've seen is that over the last decade, I mean, for example, in Iraq, we've seen the rising Shia influence. In fact, in 2005, it became the first Shia-dominated Arab state since the time of the Fatimids about 800 years ago. We've seen a similar rise of influence in Syria and actually increasing sectarianism across the Muslim-majority countries in the world. However, I think what we tend to find in the UK is that we do have a uniquely British Islamic identity here, and there does seem to be something of a fire break between events that are happening in the Middle East and here. That isn't to say, however, that we're not on a knife edge. I mean, there are organisations and think tanks like the Brookings Institute that will argue there's a new sectarianism which is spreading across the world and is a threat to liberal Western democracies. But you've also got other commentators who would suggest that actually this idea of a sectarian master narrative is flawed, and that there's just as much intra-Sunni sectarianism, if you like, and tribal conflict and intercommunal tensions as there are outside of Sunni Islam.
For those of us who are outside of this conversation, Sheikh Hilli, in terms of faith affiliations, what is the essential difference between Sunni and Shia theologies?
There's quite a bit of similarity in that, of course, Sunnis and Shiites both believe in the same God. They both follow the Quran. They indeed take the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as the final messenger. However, the difference stems around what happened after he passed away, after the Prophet died, and who to take the teachings of the religion from, in other words, the source of legislation. So the Sunnis will argue that it should be his companions, the Prophet's companions, who are his kind of natural successors, so to speak, and they take their understanding of the Quran from them, whereas the Shiites say that it should be from the family of the Prophet, headed by Ali, the son-in-law and cousin of the Prophet, who should be the ones who explain Islam to us. And therefore you find some differences in the way Sunnis and Shias pray. Some of their jurisprudential elements are also different based on who actually they consider to be the ones who are the successors of the Prophet.
Well, Mohammed Ansar, if there are influences coming in from elsewhere, Syria, Pakistan and the like, which might, as you put it, put the British Muslim community on a knife edge, what would you say can be done to challenge that, to calm those tensions?
I think we've seen in the aftermath of incidents like Woolwich and in other situations, for example, relating to child grooming offences, issues of civic concern and social ills in society. We've seen recently the coming through of Muslim organisations, individuals who work in umbrella organisations. They're working across the board, and these individuals and organisations are incredibly united. There is very little or none that I have ever seen any tension with Sunnis and Shias and any divisions within Islam. These Muslims are coming together.
But you now have anti-Shia demonstrations taking place.
Well, I think it would be very unwise to look at the actions of a discredited and extremist minority group, such as that led by extremist individuals like Anjem Choudhury, and extrapolate that to relate to the whole of the Muslims in the UK. I think one of the things I'd like to say, which is very important, is that sectarianism is forbidden within Islam. It is recognised, of course, that sects exist and there are subdivisions. However, the Prophet, peace be upon him, in his final sermon was clear to state that every Muslim is a brother to every other Muslim, and the Muslims constitute one brotherhood. And in another verse of the Quran, Muslims and at large have been told very, very clearly, as for those who divide their religion and break into sects, we have no part with them. And so we've been told very clearly.
Mohammed Ansar and Sheikh Mohammed Al Hilli, many thanks to you both.
Thank you.